Yo, what up, Grizz Nation? And welcome back to Grizz 901, your favorite post-game show. And it's not even close. Listen, if you are here, as Marco says, we're just here to suffer. But I want to say thank you. If you're here listening to this, game 80, I believe, in a season that is completely lost, a season that is on the shambles, we'll say. I want to say thank you. We have two more to go. Nate will be hosting the show tomorrow night or Friday night, and then I will be back here with Nate on Sunday. We're also going to have two of the cutest, most special guests, much cuter than our actual guest tonight. But the Grizzlies lose 110-98. It was a snooze fest, we'll say. We're going to ask Ryan about it for sure. Then we'll get into Grizz trivia, and then we're going to ask any questions you might have in the chat. Feel free to put them in there. Hashtag Ryan or hashtag Meadows, whatever you want to ask. Go ahead and ask him. We're going to go through a little bit of the mock drafts. We're going to go through a little bit of the kind of the season as a whole, because this is probably the last time that we'll talk before the end of the year. Me and him will have a chance to talk. So listen, that's it. This will be a shorter show, I can guarantee. 100%. But here we go. Let's bring in Ryan. All right, so you're not from Mars, I do believe.
Fingers crossed. We'll see.
You're definitely much quieter than a show this morning. I was like, oh, I can't hear you. I had to turn it down because the guys on that show are so much more loud in a sense, and so it's very when they're on it, it's just like just coming through loud and clear. The Black Ninja DJ is Ryan's internet working, so we'll say a little bit of behind the scenes. There's fiber out in those woods, from my understanding. There's a little fiber, and so we might have some actually good working internet, but off the top rope from you, thoughts on the game just as a whole. We're not going to spend too much time on it overall, but just kind of your thoughts.
Yeah, hopefully this internet is not as spotty as Jake LaRavia's basketball performances. So hopefully, like tonight, we get a good, clean connection here, because I don't know what happened to him in this game. I mean, he dropped Isaac Okoro. He what, 30 plus points against the Cavs trying to make the playoffs.
Wow.
What is happening?
All right. So I do have some questions on that. The Cavs, let's hit on them real quick. What's going on? They don't look good at all.
Yeah. I don't understand what it is. Like, they were better when it was just Donovan Mitchell out there, when Mobley and Garland were out.
Right.
So it's been a struggle all season. We're all together, and you just kind of see it, right? Like, it seems like they've run like an okay continuation offense, but it feels like a my turn, your turn kind of thing. And so they've kind of need a really favorable matchup in the first round, like someone like the Magic, first time being there, young team, to actually advance, because if they face an older team, kind of last year with the Knicks, I think they're going to get bullied around a little bit again. So that could be kind of the end of the Donovan Mitchell story in Cleveland.
Yeah. Well, the fact is, they're two big guys, Mobley and Allen, combined for 22 rebounds, which is, big for them just in general. But also, you're talking about 28 points. So 28 and 22 from your two big guys, that's not terrible. They're both shooting okay percentages. There's nothing crazy or off. I don't see like George Niang, like Okoro did. Like he's just out there. Karis LeVert always kills the Grizzlies, but I just don't see anything with this team. And I don't know. They don't scare me at all. I would not be worried if I came up against the Cleveland Cavaliers in the first round. Not at all.
Yeah, I think the weak spot for them is actually the Okoro spot, right? Like, we are very familiar with this with the Grizzlies, and having a physical defender who cannot do anything on offense for you. So it just shrinks the court for everyone else, especially when you're playing two bigs, Mobley and Allen, who right now can't really do anything outside of 6 feet. Right.
Yeah. And for them, you're talking about a 4-5 matchup, like you were just saying about Orlando. you're hoping Indiana somehow jumps Orlando. Like any way possible, you need that to happen.
Yeah, it's got to be Orlando or it's got to be the Pacers if the Cavs expect to actually advance.
And if they advance, they're getting boat raced by Boston.
4-0, baby, or 4-1 if the Celtics decide to take one off.
Exactly. All right, let's get out of there and get back to the Grizzlies a little bit. But you're talking about the let's start on the bench because the bench is benching it. The bench is Jack White. His the other band guy with him is Tim Allen, and then on the drums is Xavier Simpson. So listen, the Motley Crew or whatever you want to call them, you want to call them the 6-point backups. Well, you can call them whatever you want to call them, but these guys, it just is what it is. Like,
it's so bad.
They're bad.
It's horrible.
And I don't want to say anything personally about them. It's just they're not NBA level talent. They just aren't. And so, they're running a big 3 bench. It's just I literally put a lot of money on Jordan Goodwin to have 8, 10, and 12. I laddered him up all the way to 12, actual rebounds tonight. And he didn't even play. He was inactive because of the whole 2-way. I hate that 2-way. They should say, if for some reason you suck so bad, let's remove that 2-way. So if you're 15 games under 500, the 2-way rules do not apply anymore. We want these guys play.
Yeah.
Is that not a good rule?
Come on. Why wouldn't the NBA, like, this is a guy who's trying to make a roster, right? And you're going to limit him based on some dumb rule you made up about 2. Come on. Like, honestly, who's taking advantage of the 2-way rule anyways that benefits them? Like, why is it 50 or whatever it is? Like, why isn't it a full 82? Like, it's not like you're gaining an advantage.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't understand. But
I don't either. And the other thing about the whole 90 rule, right? So you can only have a combination of 90. Listen, if you're having to play 2-way guys, you aren't good.
Yes.
You should not. That should not be an issue.
Jordan Goodwin, if he got to 65 games, he could qualify for an all-NBA team this year. I mean, just the rebounds alone would have put him on 3rd team. Come on. Give this guy a break.
Like, we have guys that are trying to play and they have this rule of 65 games and it's the complete they're working the opposite directions. Like, they're not allowing this guy to play, yet they can't get the stars to play. Like, make it make sense. Like, it doesn't make sense. But I've always had that pet peeve now that I've learned about it because we've had to use it so much. Like, as a bad team, like, don't hurt us. We already suck. Give us something to cheer for. I wanted to cheer for Jordan Goodwin to go get 12 rebounds because I want to make money. Anyway, all right, let's get off of him. Trey Jemison, who went up against Jared Allen, he did have 4 points, 3 assists, but 9 rebounds, which is a good number against 2 of the bigs. But then we have the rest of the guys. Scottie Pippen Jr., a decent and solid outing out of him. I didn't see anything that I did not like. But 18 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists. And then we're going to go to Lamar Stevens, who got the start. He came back as well with Jake LaRavia, but 16 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 of 5 from deep. G.G. Jackson had a lot of dumb moments in the game, but had some excellent moments in the game. But that's what you're going to get with a guy who literally goes and hangs out with his church group and plays the drums for him. He's 19, guys. That's what he's doing. Like, that's just the guy he is. That's no shade to him. It's just these guys are young. Like, he is a very young player. But 22 points overall, two rebounds, 2 assists, 2 of 10 from deep. That's the issue I want to see if he can correct, is when he gets the volume of shots, seeing if he can somehow increase the level of efficiency there. And then the last one, your guy, Jake LaRavia, 32 points, 7 rebounds, 8 of 11 from deep. Let's talk about Jake right now. And then we'll save GG.
No, like, he must have known I was on the show tonight to show out, but no, look, Jake in the other aspects of the game, to be honest with you, he sucked. Let's be really honest. Like, if he doesn't hit 8 threes, Like there was a lot of times him and Gigi, you talked about Gigi making bad plays, driving to the basket and forcing stuff. There were some that he had really nice plays, right? With that kind of rip through that he's starting to really go to now.
Yep.
That seems like an obvious Anthony Carter, let's work on this rip through here.
Yep.
But Jake LaRavia, he's actually disappointed me the more that he's played, because I thought with more time that things like his touch would improve, and they just flat haven't. Like he will still slam things off the backboard on a layup, right? And I thought playing more and getting into real, actual NBA speed and rhythm would improve that, and it hasn't. And he did that a lot tonight. Like there were a lot of forced weird layups, which you can say that's part of, they're not running an offense like it's an AAU 5 out, go get me something. They ran a few sets every once in a while, but overall, no one's really doing anything. And to ask Jake LaRavia to create something for you, let's just say don't expect a lot of the Isaac Okoro drop that he did. Like that is just not his game. So overall, him and Gigi, Gigi kind of had that Mamba mentality, right? Mamba mentality tonight, just like
Mamba
mentality. What he shoot 22 shots tonight. Like he was throwing them up there. Yeah. So Jake, he had a great points total, and it was just because he was hot from three.
Yeah. Listen, in the end of the day, as McLean Luca wants you to know that's the dumbest thing he's heard.
Which part?
I'm not sure, but I appreciate you, Luca, for coming and hanging out with us. Listen, I will say that they have looked good in a lot of areas, but I don't want to look too far past the fact that, these guys are getting the usage rates. These guys are getting the volume, increase, big time. But what's happening is I don't see the consistency that we're going to see, but also like Jake hasn't even played a full 82 games in his career so far. Yeah. And this shows that, hey, he's still really young in his career. I'm hoping that maybe these games right now is when he does get hot. But same thing for Gigi. When you get hot and you're feeling it, and then the games you don't have it, like where can you find that middle ground that a really good championship level team really needs a player to come in and give them a boost off the bench? That's where they have to be, because they're not going to be in the high usage rate on these teams. And everybody knows that. Yeah. But that's not going to happen in the next 2 years. And not even for Gigi, Gigi's exceptional. The problem is I don't see it yet. And he's young. Him being a consistent guy you can go to, you have to grow with him. And I think because of that, I think you're going to see Gigi get the edge over a lot of these other guys, is because his ceiling is the roof, as Michael Jordan said. Like absolutely, the dude is just out of this world. His athletic moves going to the basket, that corner three has been, great. And so I'm curious your thoughts on that. So when everybody gets back next year, let's say you were given, Jake, Zaire Williams, Gigi, I'm not saying the front office, sure, who would you go to and who would you lean on to actually bring in off the bench to maybe be that kind of X factor type player?
Well, I'm going to lean more towards the offense side of it, because, if you put Gigi around with Jaren and Marcus Smart in particular lineups, they can kind of cover for him a little bit. And he's been pretty good, as a help side defender, like a blocker. Yeah. It's just his 3-point from the corner is just such a coveted thing. And Zaire has just shown that he's not consistent at that. Right. If you were to ask me what I think the coaching staff will do, I would think that they would go with Zaire first. That's just crazy. Because of the defensive stuff. That's kind of been their pattern in the past. Not saying I agree with it, but I would prefer Gigi because he needs to be out there, and his corner three stuff. I wouldn't expect for him to be a creator type guy. So for people that are thinking he's potentially could be in the starting lineup next year, that would take a lot to happen over the summer development wise for him to be a starter. Right. He's going to be a bench role player. So I know we're going to get upset 10 games in when Gigi's just sitting in the corner, which a lot of guys do.
Hold on. Is that corner of the bench or is that corner of like the actual court? I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
When he comes in, he'll start on the corner of the bench. And then when he comes in, he'll be primarily probably a corner shooter or corner and that wing elbow down.
All right. Okay. I'm okay with that part of it. I want to go back to it because Key Meeks is saying that Gigi's going to be the 6th or 7th man off the bench. And that means overall coming off, right? Not the 6th or 7th off the bench as in like not playing. So I just want to crystal clear that way. You know, some people might not know the verbiage. Yeah. But I will say that I think that he will be a guy who gets minutes over all of the other guys coming off the bench. In my opinion, and I want to ask you and yours, like we're talking about the starters, you have your main guys, right? You have your 4 that everybody considers to be guys that are going to play. You also have these, you're going to assume that they either go get a 4 or go get a 5, depending on which direction they want to go. So I would say that, let me ask this question first before I get to there. Is the 5th starter on this team currently?
That's a good question because I would throw a hypothetical at you. Is what do you think are the % odds chance that we see a Jaren Santi starting 4 or 5?
No.
What are the chances? Not saying they should.
-70.
Okay. So obviously Jaren has done better in the past we've seen beside a true 5, right?
Correct.
But this team has moved more to 5 out.
I agree.
And so Santi, I keep saying names wrong tonight, but Santi would be the guy that would be like your 5 out. Now he's not strong enough. He's not big enough. You need a guy to do the dirty work for that kind of first, rotation. But I'm just saying that I wouldn't be surprised if they do it. Wow. I'm just saying.
I would be shocked.
It would be shocking because Jaren is just better near a natural 5. Like he was better with Biyombo, right? But if they're a team that's trying to go to a 5 out to emulate a Bucks type system, which is where both guys are coming from, him and Patrick St. Andrews,
the island,
it was a 5 out, and you've got to have a guy who can shoot and dribble. And I'm not saying that Brook Lopez can dribble, but he can at least theoretically shoot. So,
all right,
it's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. All right, so let's go back over that because I think Sane just got here and he was saying, wait, did he say that Zaire over Gigi? All right, so no. I'll crystal clear everything real quick. This is me just I'm asking just, opinions or whatever, and we all agree Gigi over any of these dudes. So all the wings that you're looking at, Gigi over all of them. I think we all agree on that. But Ryan's talking through that potentially when it comes down to it, you could see them lean on a guy like a Zaire early in the season next year. And I think you even said possibly the first 10 games, like don't be afraid, or I don't know, whatever that word is.
Shocked.
Yeah, shocked. Yeah, don't be shocked.
Pissed off at what Gigi's not doing.
Correct. So
because it's just the history of Taylor Jenkins, right? Like he is a self-pronounced defensive coach.
Yeah.
And that's what he prioritizes. And I mean, you saw it all year. Gigi and Vince Williams, they did not get in till people like Vince and other guys ahead, to our main stars, obviously, started getting injured.
But they hadn't proven themselves, and it was the unknown. There's no known to that. So I understand what you're saying, but I also think, one, the front office isn't this stupid. Like, okay, so let's break it down. Okay, we'll say the 4.
They could absolutely look. I mean, if you're talking about getting rid, if you had to choose between 2, 100% you get rid of Zaire.
No, I know, but I'm saying they're on the team. I'm saying because we don't know what the offseason is going. I want to just ask because you brought up something that has intrigued me, and just like King Meeks is saying, if the front office picks Zaire over Gigi, I don't know how I'll react. Neither will I, and it might be. It might be what Lightning and DJ say will be the Undertaker choke slam. Like that might be what comes out of me. I don't know. We might just send Zaire to Arkansas with Calipari. We don't know, but we're going to try our best. But I just want to talk through this because you bring up a good point. They have favored Zaire over in the past, right?
Yeah.
Let's say it's those 4 plus. Let's say they're going to send out whoever, bring in somebody, sign in a free agent, the 5th starter, because we're thinking that it probably will be a traditional 5 to start the game. You then have your next 5 players. I'm not asking you.
Yeah.
If you had to give me your opinion on what the front office would do, how do you think they would go with the next 5?
I would assume it would be Brandon Clark, Santi. Then you Vince. Then you get into the Gigi Zaire discussion. Front office, I would think want to see Gigi, right?
You would think.
But Taylor has opted to defense in the past. Like, I'm not vouching for it. Is it wrong? Yes. That lineup is going to be pretty rough from the wings, right? You've got Vince, who theoretically can shoot, right? He kind of fell off at the end, probably because of all the minutes he had to play. But I mean, Gigi makes so much more sense being on the second side, right? On the main actions going on. You would assume Desmond Bane is either staying with that lineup or it's Ja with it. And you're going to need that release in the corner. And Gigi is that guy. Zaire is not. But that is not the history of Taylor Jenkins playing people.
Man, you're going to make me mad. If that was to happen, I would lose my mind.
I'm just saying, I hope it doesn't, but I mean, stranger things have happened.
Wow. I'm actually getting text from people asking who you actually are on this show. That's why I don't want to just take it out of context. I'm not saying you're saying that. I think you're bringing up a hypothetical of like, you see how they kind of move, right?
It's how they've operated.
Yeah. And you're saying that potentially could be. All right. So Lightning DJ has kind of chimed in, and honestly, anybody else in the chat, you guys being here is a bonus on a bonus, right? Because the fact is, these games aren't watchable for the most part. But the fact is, you're all here, and I do appreciate that. But he's saying the bench for him would go Vince, Gigi, Santi, BC, and then Conchar, Stevens, Luke. Draft pick. Okay, so all right, so that's a lot of people. Obviously, not everybody's playing.
Is that in order of importance or just like?
I'm curious about that. So it has to be, because the way he's got this lined out, it's Vincent, Gigi, by Santi, BC, Conchar. That would mean that he's running Conchar with these, and he's not even playing Luke. So all right, so I need you to help me out on that, Blackney DJ. Oh, he said no order. Give me your order. Give me your 5. And we're going to assume we know the 4, and we're going to assume that they're going to bring in a 5th guy to start, because I can't imagine that the 5th starter's on this team. But if you had to give me your 5, because I'm curious how this goes. So if you had to give me your 5, Ryan, who would your 5 be?
On my preference?
Yep.
It would be, if you're just doing a 5 in, 5 out type of situation.
Yep.
Be BC, Santi, Vince, Gigi, and I'm forgetting somebody.
Luke Kennard. No?
Probably Luke. Yeah. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody immediately. And
Lamar Stevens. A lot of people love Lamar Stevens.
Not gonna happen. Yeah.
Just says you're trying to get Jenkins fired.
I'm not trying to get him fired. I'm just telling you reality of what this man has done. So why would we expect him to do something different than he hasn't done in the past?
Yeah. So I think we're all kind of consensus here, it looks like, because I'm the same way. Lightning DJ, same thing. BC, Santi, Vince, Luke, and Gigi. I don't see how Zaire breaks into that 5. That brings up a great it brings up an amazing, like, theoretical, like, idea, and just thought provoking. And that's all I'll say about it. It's not because we're slandering one player or the other. We love all these guys. We want them to be good. I promise.
Yeah.
We just haven't seen it yet. And so it would blow my mind if they went Zaire over Gigi at this point of what we've seen. No matter the peaks or the valleys of Gigi, I think you have to go with what we've seen so far and the potential. So that's where I'll leave it. Yeah, I don't see anything else crazy happening there. A lot of people are saying you look like Taylor Jenkins, or maybe that you are family potentially.
Okay. I wish maybe you could loan me something.
Yeah. All right. So if a lot of you who are in here already know who Ryan is, Ryan, tell some of the people who are new, because we do have a very large audience for a random, I don't even know what day it is. Is this Tuesday or Wednesday? Wednesday.
Well, I haven't even begun to fire people up. So we're just getting started. So tell your friends.
I was prefaced that you have something very good up your sleeve you want to share with me. We'll do that in the second segment. But tell everybody who you are, what you do for Bluff City Media, for what you do for the Grizz 901 family.
Yeah, so we just record our podcast, me and my buddy Cody. It's free basketball, not on any fancy medium like this. And that was mostly related to satellite situation in the past.
Right.
But if this works out, then you might start seeing a little more kind of interactive stuff from us, maybe into next year over the summer. But yeah, I don't know if you need a backstory, but no. You know, I've been with Daniel talking with Daniel about basketball for what, 6 years
at least,
something like that.
Yeah. We're all, what Black Ninja DJ is saying is just, you don't sound like an alien from Pluto, right? That like that's the issue. If you don't know about that, just go find any other show where Ryan's been on, and it looks like he's recording from his mom's basement in Mars. That's the type of signal that we're getting. And then the other thing is, I'm very disappointed so far, because I know that y'all know who Ryan is, but the slander tonight has been very low key. Very low key. The last show that we had, if you missed it, they called the man an aged Charlie Brown, which was exciting, and that's what we ended up naming the show. But also, I think they didn't slander Francis as much. Francis Carlotta, who was on the show, amazing. I hate that we did not have him on more, but Francis does some great stuff for us over at Bluff City Media, and he's going to do more. He does Tigers Live, the postgame show. But he did we named it Shake or No Shake, because that was his thing. He calls it Shake. I call it Wiggle. So a little bit about that. But so if you have anything, feel free. It's always in good fun. We try to roast our guests as we go. But King Meeks is saying, looks like the big brother from Home Alone. God, what's his name?
I don't. Buzz or something?
Buzz.
I don't know. Yeah.
Buzz.
Is it Buzz?
It is Buzz.
Okay.
Whatever you do, don't say hi to Kenny. All right, so let's go ahead and take our first break. Before we do, our sponsor of the comment section, who we love dearly. We love all you guys for coming in here. This is game 80 of 82. We have 2 more to go. But Streetcars of Memphis has been just kind of a through and through for us this year, for the back half of the year. If you need any modifications from light, lifts, wheels, speakers, whatever, name it, they can hook you up down at Streetcars of Memphis. Go ahead and give them the code Grizz901. They'll give you a $55 regular oil change or $65 for full synthetic. It's huge savings taking place down at Streetcars of Memphis. You can go check them out online at 901scm.com, or you can call them 901-323-3332. You can schedule your oil change, maintenance, or customization service today. Proud sponsor of the unnamed comment section. Before we go to our first break, let me tell you something. Jalissa, we have missed you. We have missed you. Not sure what that's about. Let me tell you a quick story. 2 minutes of your time. This morning I wake up and my wife is yelling, screaming. It's 5:15, maybe 5:30. I'm not sure. And the first time this happened, if everybody remembers the story, she pulls the door off of the hinges to the bathroom because there's a snake that came up through our thing, whatever, the drain. And there's a snake in my shower. All right. So that happened, whatever. So now it's 5:15, 5:30, whatever time it was this morning. She's screaming. Kids are all up now. And there's a mouse in our sunroom that is kind of like our house is on one, foundation. And then you step down and then there's that area. And then there's a effing mouse in there running around, scooting around, going crazy. The cat who gets them is nowhere to be found. It's outside, run through the doggy door, not anywhere close. Okay. So I finally shoo this mouse out the door, by just using a broom just to get it out. I didn't want to kill it in front of the kids. All right, cool. No big deal. That's where the story ends, I thought. We all go get about our day. Whatever happens, the kids finally come in here. And then all of a sudden, 10 minutes later, I hear the doggy door open. Okay. I go see who it is. This cat who was outside found this mouse that's running through the yard, chases it, catches it, and comes through the door and lets it in our house, and it starts playing with it as the thing's running around the house. So now we have a cat chasing after the little mouse. He's a little bitty guy, very, very small, just chasing around the house at 5:30, 5:45 in the morning. It is bananas in the house. We're trying to figure out where it is because we don't want it to get somewhere where the cat can't get it, and then the cat just gets bored and goes to sleep. Like, that's not what we want to happen. So that was my fun story this morning, and I shared that on the show that I was on, our Driving the Line show this morning. And Duke actually, the cat became part of the show. He is the show cat now. So I figured I'd share that story because, man, it was funny. So anyway, all right. So yes, it was Tom and Jerry at our house. I don't know, and it was I didn't expect to have a live mouse just dangling on the cat's mouth, and he just drops it and starts chasing after it again. He's like, "Oh, this is fun."
Yeah, that's weird that he brought him in there, kind of like a gladiator, kind of setting up an arena for himself.
Well,
like
the cat
built himself a challenge.
Yes. Well, the cat actually brings up moles. It goes out, kills moles, brings them up to the back door all the time, and leaves them. Great, show off. Great, I'll throw them out. Whatever. Thank you, but not a live one, and especially a mouse that runs fast. These moles don't go fast. This mouse is going fast. I couldn't even find him half the time. Anyway, man. All right, that's part of my story. The story time with me. All right, let's get to our first break, and then when we come back, we'll do actually Grizz trivia. One of the last few of the year. This is actually a good one. I think we'll all enjoy playing along. Here's Jay the Grind for the break.
Yeah. Vince Williams is the closest thing we've seen to Tony Allen. 100% Tony Allen. I think that has been really thrown around very loosely in a kind of just joking manner for a lot of people, because everybody for the love that we have for TA, such a big factor in this franchise. We throw that thing around. We throw that the grandson thing around lightly because it's kind of funny on Twitter, but he is the closest thing to Tony Allen that has been so far in a Memphis uniform. And I think that's very, D'Anthony Melton might have been the other, but to your point, that's what made me think about this, is that the fearlessness that he plays with, that's what Tony Allen played with. He did not care who you were. He doesn't see a name on that.
Tune in to The Daily Grind with Mark King and Luke Hatmaker at 1 p.m. every Monday through Friday, live on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
All right, welcome back to Grizz 901, the post-game show for Memphis Grizzlies. We do have a little bit of comments I want to hit in before we get through to the Grizz trivia. And my thing's glitching over here, so I apologize if I'm shifting through different things. I cannot get the comments to stay up. But Kenny, I never said he was amazing on the show. I did say that about Francis. Sorry, Kenny. He did wear a Christmas wreath, just so everybody's aware. Like, he did. But yes. But in DJ, I'll give him his flowers. We love Kenny. Always great. He is the best producer in all the land. Two things I want to share before we get onto it. When are we finally going to let Goon the Shooter and King Meeks on this show?
Summer League. Do it. Should be a Summer League show.
Tuesday night we'll do it. Oh, speaking of that, guess who I contacted today, Ryan?
Adam Silver.
Live on a show, probably not a post-game show, but we're going to try. We only have 2 more, and I'm not going to be on the next one, I don't believe, so it would have to be Sunday, and I don't think that's going to happen. But we're going to get live on a show, Tom Izzo again, to answer some questions. So if everybody's aware, I spoke to them. It might have been this morning. There was a lot going on. But I spoke to his handler in a sense. I spoke to him this morning, and so he was going to ask about one of the post game shows. just to give some thoughts on Jaron, but also Xavier Tillman, as we always do. Always like to ask, have our regular guests come back on the show. But now that we've done this so much, having him live on the show is what I want to do. And so, we thought about doing a pre-recorded. I didn't really want to do that. I want to do the live thing. And so we're going to wait and see the best time. It might be a random Tuesday. It might be middle of the summer. We're not sure, but we will have time, as I promise you. And Grizz Girl, always one of the best and one of the OGs. The season has been rough, but promise you, we try to make it as much fun as possible. Even the story time, I'm trying to do my best. All right. Now the Black Ninja DJ wants to, man, listen, we're going to have a full show where we just bring some of these guys on. Okay. We're going to do
draft night. It's 2 days. It's 2 nights now for the draft.
Draft might be the best one. Black Ninja DJ loves the draft. All right. So listen, I presented this to Nate, and Nate was scared because he wasn't sure what some people might say. So I think if everybody can behave, we can do it. So we'll see. We'll see. All right, let's get to it.
You gotta do an interview process.
That's the issue, is we're live and we have to trust everybody that we're bringing on. So that's the problem. But anyway, let's get to Grizz Trivia before we get too far in the show. All right, Ryan, I have a very important question for you. We've had a lot of change on this team this season.
Oh, Lord.
But I want to ask a very important question. How many two-way players have the Grizzlies? 10-day players have the Grizzlies had this season? The Grizzlies obviously had many, many players throughout the season.
11?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Nope.
13? Let's see how many times you're counting.
I stopped. I forgot you could hear me. It is not 11. It is, the Black Ninja DJ has said it is 10.
Okay.
All right. So we've gotten that far. How many could you name?
Xavier Simpson.
Current.
Jack White.
Current.
Pereira.
I don't know his first name.
We just talked about him. The guy that had 19 rebounds. Goodwin.
Jordan Goodwin was on a 10-day. I don't know if anybody remembers that. He was on a 10-day before he got signed to the two-way because who left? Mighty Mouse.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
The short king. But he was not a 10-day, so he was a two-way. So all right, keep going.
Gilly counts as a two-way, right?
He was a two-way, not a 10-day. A 10-day only.
Oh, 10-day only. I'm sorry. Allen.
Timmy Allen.
You're
doing good.
I'm trying to think if there's one early in the season.
All right, the first one of the season was January the 29th. Can you believe like that? I thought this was going on all season, but no, only January 29th was our first 10-day player.
Our very first one.
Looks like the last one.
Matthew Hurt? Does he look like me?
No, Matthew Hurt and Jack White. They both do guys. They look the same. They're just big white Gumbies.
The guy from Houston.
Houston?
Played for Houston. In college. Deaky
Jadro.
Okay.
Yep. Darkness. You know what I'm talking about?
Charlie Murphy?
Winyon Gabriel.
Oh. Okay. It's like, what are you talking about?
You got two important ones. One guy who was brought in the same day as the other player has moved on. I think he's actually in Detroit still playing. And the other guy is currently still on the team.
Tosan.
And he currently was your starting big.
Oh yeah, Trey
Jemison.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's the 10 days. It's crazy that they've had that many this year, but 10 days for the Grizzlies. What a crazy sign. So anyway, all right, let's get to your spiciness that you want to bring up.
Well, I don't. Well, are we doing it in the context of talking about the mocks, or am I just throwing this out there?
Well, I didn't know where.
Okay, so it involves the draft.
All right, so I wanted to bring up a little bit about the mock drafts in general, and so obviously, we're gonna start. Let's go ahead and start off with a question, and then I'm gonna go, and as you want to throw it in, go ahead. But let's take 10 minutes, and then we'll probably get out of here or so, depending on how many comments y'all have or questions you have. We had this last night, I believe, Stephon Castle, and so obviously he's shot up the draft boards. As Lightning DJ is saying, he's grown on him more. The more you watch him, the versatility, the big combo guard, ability to play make, athleticism, all that. But that's only if the Grizzlies can get a veteran big. And so, what's your thoughts on Castle if they were to get a veteran big on the side and then draft a guy like Castle?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a good player. He reminds me a lot of Okoro, right? Like I thought the most impressive thing about him was that he became kind of the point of attack defender for UConn, which was just incredible defensively, right? The problem is his offense, and if he's going to have a reliable jump shot. Now, you saw that with Alabama when they played UConn. They played off of Castle, and he actually hit a couple threes. So, these mocks, which we might talk about here in a second, but they just move so fluidly just based on who makes a deep run in the tournament.
Right.
And usually it's not right. Like if you just look at the history of it. And I think pre-tournament, he was in the range of like 15 to 17, if I remember correctly. Like it was right outside the lottery, or he is at the very end of the lottery. And now I've seen people put him up as high as 3. And which is that's just too far for a tournament run for a team that was perfect for him. So obviously his swing skill is going to be if he can shoot or not. But the defense is something that's bankable on a perimeter wing defender that you can say, well, this is not a great draft. If we've got that vet big and we don't have to do that in the draft, then okay, maybe this would be a kind of a value play for where we're at.
Yeah. All right. Well, Lightning DJ wants to know about his current big board. Your thoughts on it? Sarr, Klingon, Castle, and wildcard being Rishashar, and then a sleeper Devin Carter.
Right.
Any thoughts on that, just in general?
I like Sarr. Klingon and Castle are okay. They wouldn't be 2 or 3 for me. Rishashar is a real wild card. Last time when we did this, I hadn't really watched any of the European guys, and I've watched a game or two of Rishashar now, and like he plays a role, and his role is stand in the corner. And so I think he got a pretty big bump early in the year because the question mark with him was his shooting. Like he's a good athlete. Like he's tall. I think he's 6'8", good athleticism, projects to be a pretty good defender. I think the question mark for him was he going to have a consistent 3-point shot, which he had early on, and it's kind of fallen by the wayside now. But he's a guy that plays a role. Like I see people saying that he's this like ball handling creator, and I just don't see that. Like he's an open court guy and sit in the corner, and we've got guys like that already. I'm still a big Tyler Smith guy for just the size and the shooting.
Yeah.
I don't have like an official like top big board right now because it's so fluid, and I kind of want to see after draft lottery where we actually are before I start penciling in guys. But I mean, they're all okay. They're not exceptional. Like there's still question marks about Sarr for sure. But he would definitely be number 1 on any of my big boards if I were to put out one now.
Okay. All right, let's go through a little bit of the actual drafts. So I'm looking at one of them.
Good luck. Yeah.
So I'm looking at the mock of Wasserman, Jonathan Wasserman. I believe he's with
Bleacher
Bleacher Report. And so one thing I will say, they have he has Tyler Smith down at 20, Channing Frye as his pro comp.
Yeah.
Um,
Just because he's 6'9" and can shoot.
That's it.
And
Right.
that's how most of these comps go.
If you were going to give a pro comp to Alexander Sarr, just what do you think they gave him?
I would assume it's Jaren Jackson Jr. because I've seen that before. And they are very similar, like just being the size that they are.
Yeah.
The shooting kind of woes. I don't think Sarr is actually as big as Jaren. Like Jaren has really broad shoulders
Now, but when he was 18, he looked like a skinny
he was
mini.
still broad. He was still broad though. Like you could see the frame that he could build on.
Yeah.
Sarr doesn't really look like that frame, but his wingspan is crazy.
Okay.
And he's a really good athlete. So it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense.
If I told you that draft night, somebody drafts in this order, Sarr, Dillingham, Shepard, would you lose your mind?
I wouldn't lose my mind, but I would laugh because 2 and 3, I mean, you just, I get it. If it's, you just like the guy and you want to take him and you're a terrible team anyways, then why not? Right.
Just for fun.
Why not? I mean, you're the Wizards. Like what else, what's worse you could do? Like the Hornets, let's just get a warm body that can dribble. So it's not the ideal of what I would think it should be for those teams, but it would not surprise me, but it would make me laugh. I would.
So that's the 2 and 3 for Wasserman. Then he has, the Charlotte Hornets taking, Rishashar, whatever his name is. Yeah. And then it goes down to, Stefan Castle, which is at 5, which is still a big jump. The previous spot for him was 7 from what it says on here. And then you have Don McClingan following all the way down to 6. When he has him falling from 5 to 6, which shocks me that anybody has them falling just in general because of the way he played and they won. Usually that goes for a long way. And then the Grizzlies getting Ron Holland. If that happened, if the Grizzlies come away and you have Ron Holland at the end of the day, just from at the 7th spot or later, are you okay with that?
Yeah, I like Holland better than Castle, if I'm being honest. Both question marks are about the offense, right? Holland's a little bit bigger, a really good defender, right? Like he could be a shutdown wing defender. Yep. His offense is the same like Castle. You're just kind of like, maybe, or we hope so. Yeah. But defense gets you on the court, like offense keeps you there. So he will at least get on the court with his defensive activity.
Yeah. And they're kind of rounding it out. They have 10, Buzelis, 9, Nikola Topic. I think all these are very fluid, like you're saying. And then you go Dalton Connected 8. I'm gonna go the next one real quick, but Lightning DJ saying about Dillingham, not impressive at all. Very small guard, too streaky, very much so. Like how streaky that like he was. There's a whole reason that Kentucky just didn't do anything because they were just too streaky. And Reed Sheppard was just he was just too small. Personally, just looking at it, he wasn't explosive enough to be a shooting guard or to be a point guard. And then he shot well enough to be a shooting guard, but then he was so small that he's kind of out of position with his size. And the last thing is Holland's, time with the G League has kind of hurt him significantly, which actually can work in the favor of the Grizzlies because in his mock draft, he had him at 3 previously, and then he fell all the way down to 7. That is Jonathan Washington. Anything you have on his mock drafts or anything that you want to hit on real quick?
Yeah, I'm interested to see what changes as we get closer to the actual draft, right? Because most of it is just intel based.
Yeah.
Right now, these guys are just throwing things against the wall because March Madness happened. If something sticks, then it sticks, right? Like I think some of them are moving, like Gavoni from ESPN. Some of them are moving based on like maybe a text he sent to like a scout with somebody who said, yeah, we really like Clingan. So he's like, all right, Clingan goes from 7 to 3. That's kind of the status of where it is right now. But like usually in the past, the ones when we get closer to draft that I think has more intel are Bleacher Report with Wasserman, ESPN with Gavoni, and then CBS Sports, I actually think has some good intel guys. They're usually pretty good about it too. So I'm interested to see how it changes, because once the draft workouts, combine stuff happens, it's going to change even more.
All right. Let's go to the no ceilings NBA. They put out one. They have Sar at 1. And then you're going down Nikola Topic, who's now 2 for them. And then Reed Shepard. And then Stefan Castle jumps up all the way to 3 for them, which is a big jump from not even being the top 10 to now 3. And then Reed Shepard at the 4 spot. Donovan Klingen still at the 5-6 area. And then you have Rishashar falling all the way down to 6. So pretty much swapping some of those big guys for Topic and Rishashar and that. And then you have the Grizzlies getting Dalton Connect. If the Grizzlies land on Dalton Connect on draft night, are you happy with that, or
it's fine? I mean, it doesn't blow me away, but it wouldn't disappoint me either.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just such a high volume guy at Tennessee by necessity, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he shot so well being wide open when he happened to be wide open. You would assume that would translate to when he's even hopefully a little bit more open, surrounded by better players, right? You would assume. But how much of that is volume? I don't know. Is it the freedom of it? He seems obviously like a confident player, where I don't think it's like a Jake LaRavia situation, right? Where Jake first coming in looked petrified to do anything. Connect is at least like Gigi, where he will shoot it. Like he will let it fly.
Yeah. Well, they do have Rob Dillingham going all the way down to 9th on this. And so, Bazelas, and you have Rob Dillingham going all the way to 9 to Houston Rockets, which what
a horrible spot. Yeah.
Wow. Cody Williams at 10, Zach Edey at 11. So Zach Edey jumps all the way to 11, like not even the first round, possibly not drafted, to now Edey at 11. And then you have over Kyle Filipowski, who did not show well. Personally, I've never been a big Filipowski fan. And I've seen almost every game he's ever played. He's just not an NBA big. He's just a stretch 4. And I don't know really what he's going to do in the league to dominate. I think he's going to be in the league. I just don't know if he can dominate unless he really grows into his frame a little bit more and kind of gets a little bit more quick twitch. But one guy I haven't even mentioned yet, falling all the way down 13, is Ron Holland. From him to drop out of the top 5 all the way down to that, pretty much the very end of the lottery, would be pretty concerning for me. Let's hit on this, the Dalton Connect thing. Lightning DJ wants to say is he has the size and shooting, but the lateral foot quickness similar to, obviously like Jake in a sense, and the speed concerns him, especially on defense. Is that what concerns you?
Yeah, that would be the only thing, right? Because I mean, even Rick Barnes benched him in the SEC championship game, wasn't it? Because he just wasn't given any effort. So, I mean, a lot of times just watching him, I don't want this to be like a knock on him, but like if he wasn't involved in the play on offense, he just didn't really seem to care that much.
Right.
How much of that is just the burden of having to carry a top 7 team in the nation offense? I mean, a guy's got to take a break, right?
Yeah.
So draft your cat.
Yeah. So Kimi wants to draft my cat instead. Listen, I'll end this on the simple fact that I don't know what's going to happen. I think this draft is so all over the board that anything could happen. And I would not be shocked with anything other than Edey at 11. That would shock me. If I saw Edey at 11, I would actually laugh, but also just be so happy that didn't happen to the Grizzlies. Like, because I'm not against Edey. He's fine for what he is. He's going to play in the league, I would assume, especially a regular season player. I think he can make a spots, minutes here and there, maybe in a playoff team, as somebody got completely change of pace. But I just don't see him being a long-term starter in this league ever. No. I think he's going to bounce around and try to find his spot. So, all right. Anything else you have on these mock drafts? Because they have been all over the place, and I think it's comical at times to see them move up and down.
Yeah, no, not anything additional right now, because we just kind of got to wait and see a little bit. I think the draft lottery is May 11th. So basically a month from now. Once we get the order, then I think they'll change even more because we actually know
May 12th.
who's May 12th. Okay. Who's picking where. But I know that we have talked about, or it's been discussed in the past, what to do with the pick. And I have mentioned this to you personally because I'm curious of everybody else's thoughts.
Okay.
Klingon, if we do take Klingon at 7, right? I think the thing that's not being discussed right now is the guaranteed salary that he's going to be on. 7th pick, I think the scale is 5.5 to 6 million, and obviously it will increase year over year. So that by the time of his second year contract, you're probably looking at a double digit, like Steven Adams type contract.
Is second year?
No, second contract. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
His second contract.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that solid value money-wise to take a rookie for a team that we expect to make a deep run, right? Is that good value for that pick for what we're going to have to pay that guy over, say, going into the vet minimum, which is, 2.2, I think, which I'm not sure who you're going to get to for 2.2, but would you rather have someone who's established at the 5 million instead of a rookie like Klingon at the same amount of money?
Wow. If it's, man, it's a tough thing to give. So what I will say is they do have the exception, and that's what I'm hoping the exception comes from is produces a vet big. That's what I hope, because what that does is that allows you to kind of, no salary for the salary cap. So it doesn't hit you there. I don't know what they do, but you're talking about 6-7 million to a young guy who we already don't know if we think is that great,
or can be on the floor.
Yes, like that's going to be tough. Like if we're like, that's exactly what a guy like Zaire is going to make next year, is 6 million and
contract too, right?
Yeah, and possibly might not play, and that's going to be a lot of money that is tied up on guys that are the honestly the 11 through 15 guys. I'm curious. I haven't even thought about the money part of it, because that just makes me think they're going to figure out a way to get off of that money, because I don't think they want any of these guys for that. And I that's probably not the best thing anybody wants to hear after we talked about draft for so much. I think that's the realistic thought process of all of this. I just don't know if they're going to spend that much money on a guy they don't love. But
yeah, I don't think it makes sense, right? Like, I think I would rather take the known commodity if I'm going to be spending 5 to 6 million, excuse me, for a center, which leads to me to the part I kind of was going to surprise you with a little bit here. This is not like Inferno. One of them is actually, you can't actually do it right now, but I want to put the thought out there anyways. The very first thought for me, if you're going to trade back, I do think there is 2 avenues. I think now, if the Grizzlies do not want to commit that money to a rookie, right? We're ready to win now. We don't need another rookie, especially a center. It's going to be very hard to do, but would they look to try to move out of the first round completely? That's number one. Number 2, I think the most obvious trade down candidate is with the Portland Trailblazers at 13. The Blazers are obviously rebuilding, right? They've got a lot of young pieces. You trade them 13, you can say, hey, give us 33 as well. You move back from 7 to 13, pick up 33. The money drops for that player. You can still get a center. Can you flip back even further? I don't know. That's a lot of movement on draft night, because I had to look at this, because usually trades in the top 10, they just do not happen, right? Most people do not move out of the top 10, but this is kind of a special case, because like the other question about this draft is like, is there one all-star that comes out of this draft at all? Like, it gives you 2000 vibes, which that draft was the Kenyon Martin draft, I believe. And he was the only guy that made one all-star. This draft kind of gives you that feel. The only time a team has traded out of the top 10 to move back was in the past 10 years was the Sacramento Kings in 2016. They flipped from their 8th spot. They traded, let me make sure I get this right. They traded with the Phoenix Suns for picks number 13 and 28 and a future 2020 second round pick. The Suns turned around and drafted Marquise Chris with that pick. The Kings drafted what's his first name? Giorgio Papagiannis.
Yeah.
And you might know this name here in Memphis, Skal Labissiere.
Okay, yep.
Guess who the draft pick, the future 2020 second round pick, ended up being?
2020. I have no idea.
Xavier Tillman, which obviously we traded in that. So, I mean,
funny.
This trade didn't work out for either team
Yeah.
at all. But there's other smaller ones where, like, most teams, if they trade out, they're like 10th pick and it's like swap 10 for 12. Someone this deep into the lottery usually doesn't trade that far out. And if they do, it's always a mistake. But the Grizzlies are just kind of in an interesting spot where their roster is pretty much set. Like, we know who the top 3 is, right?
Yeah.
Like, we kind of know the hierarchy. Most of these teams in this situation do not have that.
They're looking for the best player available.
They're looking for the best player because they're rebuilding. So we're kind of in a unique position to do something here.
Yeah.
So you can trade back to 13, maybe pick up 33. I mean, it's an extra roster spot. You got to figure it out, whatever. The other one is, this is the illegal one right now, but this would have to be, I think it's illegal. You can tell me. I'm not a big, like, I tried to keep up with all the cap rules and the sign and trade. I just gave up on that a year or two ago. But you still trade the 7th pick to the Blazers for 13. But you also include Luke Kennard and Zaire Williams for Malcolm Brogdon. Malcolm Brogdon is on a 1 year. He'd be on his expiring $22 million next year. Malcolm Brogdon's familiar with Marcus Smart, gives you an older guard. Kind of fixes your backup guard situation. They're both 30 and 31, but after this year, it's $22 million in space. You figure out the Luke situation. Obviously, I think we talked about this. We don't want to commit a lot of money to Luke long term, and we want Gigi to be here. We got to get Zaire out.
Yeah. So Sharma, we'll get to your question in a second. I do want to answer. I want to have you answer that as well. But to this, all right. So both of these guys, Zaire and Luke, are both on expiring deals next season. Right. So that's why I don't like it. I don't like that because of that. Because I have somebody that fits this roster better with Luke, no matter the Zaire deal. I have a better guy that fits the roster better with Luke personally than what I do with Brogdon. Brogdon's fine. I do like Brogdon. He's a decent player. He's been very good, but I don't know if I want another guy that's going to be handling the ball as much. And that's my only issue with that. And so I wouldn't do that. Now, I thought you were going to bring back like Robert Williams or something. Maybe. No. I did hear today. I did hear today about possibly if the Cavs are trash, right? And they just flame out in the first round just because of what we saw tonight. Do you think they would blow it up? Because potentially, we're talking about a lot of change could happen. Could that be a way to get a guy like a Jarrett Allen, because they're not going to move off Mobley, but maybe they start over fresh and they want to, do something, and maybe they get shooting. They want shooting, and you can get somebody with, maybe this year's first round pick plus Luke to get Jarrett Allen. I don't know.
See, I just don't think you're going to entice quote unquote playoff teams with this year's draft. Right. There's enough like European high ceiling guys, like teams like the Blazers or the Wizards, Hornets, they would be interested in. I'm not sure you're going to entice the Cavs with something like that. And the Cavs are kind of in a weird situation because they can't really blow it up because they have no clue what's going to happen with Donovan Mitchell. If Donovan Mitchell says, yeah, I'll resign, then maybe you're trying to move someone like Garland. But if Mitchell's moving on, I doubt they move anyone else. They'll try to salvage the situation as much as possible.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Black, we got 2 questions and we're going to get out of here. Luke getting moved up to free space up as well as having that MLE. Like, what are your thoughts on just possibly maybe not re-opting in for Luke, or do you see them possibly extending him to lessen the blow?
I mean, I could see them extending him because really, what other option do you have? You don't have a lot of great assets that people are going to be interested to pair with his money to
Right.
trade for somebody that's making $22 million a year, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, I would prefer not to have Luke for like a 3-year, 48, whatever that is, $60 million deal, whatever that $14 million a year is, $64 million. So I could see them re-signing him if it's a decent number. The problem is I don't know if anybody out there is just going to kind of like throw the poison pill contract for him and just be like, hey, come over here. We got cap space. Like the Charlotte Hornets. Hey, we got to spend $18 million on somebody. Come out here. Like, I don't want the Grizzlies to match that. So,
yeah. Well,
but I do think we are kind of uniquely set up roster wise where we could sustain that hit. I think Luke is important from stretching the floor, and obviously he's lights out from 3. I do think we have not the bodies, but we have the ability to, from in wings now, to, you're not going to make up all of his shooting, right? But you can sustain it with a little bit here from Vince, a little bit here from Gigi, added all together, combined with the defense plus that you're not getting from Luke. So I don't think losing him would be like a huge loss for the team. Obviously, I prefer to keep him, but it's all about the price point.
Yeah. I think they could easily extend out and give him a 2-year guarantee, 2 years, 25. I think that's 12.5. You cut off $2.5 million from this season, but also he's a tradable asset at $12.5 million to anybody in the league. So as long as you have him locked up, he's a tradable asset. I think that's one of the biggest things. All right, last thing, and from Charmin wants to know, getting a vet, what are your thoughts on getting a vet like Drummond, trying to get a better 3-and-D, because, we're talking about Luke as well. He's played limited minutes and it's a little use of when he's not getting many shot opportunities, especially against, strong defense in the playoffs, even though he does create a little bit more spacing in the playoffs, because when it does kind of get bogged down, you do have him. But thoughts overall on getting the vet, like, is that a priority for you, a vet big?
Yeah, I think that's where I would lean to, is a vet big over a rookie center. Now, there is an understanding that this guy is not going to be closing for me. This guy is going to be, especially come playoff time, like, you just need the guy to win you regular season playoff games. The problem with that is that once you get to the playoffs and you say, hey, you've been playing 22, 25 minutes a night, now you're going to play 15.
Right.
Maybe that's a little weird locker room dynamic, but you have to have that conversation up front, I think. So I would prefer someone that was a vet center. Now, Drummond did the funniest thing ever the other night with Torrey Craig on that off the backboard alley-oop. I don't know if you saw that, but
yes.
Luke does play limited minutes, but is that necessarily his fault? It's not like he's asking for it, right? Like, play me less. The more playmakers and size that you have in the playoffs, the better. Right. So in the playoffs, like, I'm not looking to subtract Luke to add more defense. I want more ball handling and more shooting. Yeah. Especially with size, if I can find it. Now, that is what all 30 teams in the NBA are looking for.
I was about to say, yeah.
So you've got to take something, like, you just got to have a trade-off. And unfortunately for Luke, he's white, slow, and 6'4". Like, that's his trade-off.
Yep.
So
shoot that thing.
So you have to live with something with every player.
Right.
But the thing that I don't want is someone that, when we get into the playoffs and you need a 4 to 6 minute stretch, especially from someone off the bench, it can't be someone who's just, everybody can sag off him and clog the paint for us. Right. He's got to be able to handle the ball and create, pass, hopefully hit, a 3-point shot 1 out of 3 times would be ideal. 2 out of 3 would be even better. But yeah.
All right. Well, listen, that's it for the show. We've been here, obviously, much longer than I expected. But let me recap a little bit and kind of just share a little bit of the future of what this offseason is going to look like. I keep trying to share this so everybody kind of is on the same page on what we're doing. I do not expect to be here Friday. Nate will be here. I know he'll be hosting the show. I have no idea who he's going to be hosting with. I would not expect to be on here, but for some reason, the night ends a little early, and it's my 10-year anniversary, so I'm trying to play it safe. Okay, so if I'm on here, that means everybody's asleep. I'm fair game. But Sunday we'll have the special time with Nate. Will be back here. It'll be the last show of the day or of the year, post game wise. And then my two daughters want to join, and so they want to be here. Who knows how that's going to go? They're very shy at times, but they've always been excited, and so I have to show them some love. But after that, it's going to be Tuesdays at around 8:00. It might bleed back to 8:15. I'm not sure because I do have one of my kids, play soccer up until 8 on Tuesdays. So it might be like an 8:15 start. We'll see. We'll kind of play by ear, but it will be Tuesdays around 8 is a normal time. There's not much going on Tuesdays usually. We can watch games. That's kind of what we did last year was we watched some of the NBA games that are happening live, commenting on that. Also, talking about maybe the things that are coming up throughout the season. And we're going to go through April, and then May 12th is the actual lottery. And so we'll have a live reaction, on the 14th, which will be 2 days after. To maybe talk more in depth. And then that'll lead us May all the way up into the actual draft, which is June 26th and 27th, I believe. And that's a Wednesday, Thursday. We probably won't have a Tuesday show because we always do a full live draft show. Now, because the Grizzlies are drafting a little bit higher, what we might do is start off from the very beginning and watch it live. Maybe we'll try to do something special, bring in, a lot of the people on throughout the show that have been here. And maybe that's what we try to do is the OGs that have been on here, take 5-10 minutes, whatever it might be, to kind of cycle through some people and ask some questions, let you have some, your shine, your chance to kind of come on here. As long as you promise us you won't make a fool of us, because Nate is worried at times.
The Beaks and Goon Hour.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah. So we're going to have that. So that's the plan. Let's plan for that. And then from there, you're talking about, July, we get into the actual summer league, and the summer league time is completely open-ended. We try to hit the games if we can do like a live post game on one of them, if one of them falls on a Tuesday, or we might move it back and do like a Thursday show, depending on how it goes. So that's pretty much how it all goes. And then after July, August, September is pretty open for us. We might not be here, and if we are here, it might be somebody else doing the show. And so it could be Ryan and Cody. Maybe that's what we do.
Oh,
so we'll see. But it probably, because usually August, September, Nate and I both kind of take a step back. Gives us a couple months off, or maybe a month. So we'll see. But anyway, that's it. That's the ins and outs of it. Just wanted to share that because I know me and Nate have not talked about it, so he probably doesn't even know what's going on either. But he knows Tuesdays usually around 8:00 is the plan. So moving forward. But Ryan, can't thank you enough. Let me give a shout out to our two sponsors real quick. Don't want to spend too much time, but Pew's Residential Spray. They do my yard. They can do yours. Go do me a favor, and I promise you, if you have any yard work you need done, whether it is them actually coming out to your place and redoing your flower beds, or if it is just spraying, killing all those weeds, give them a call at 901-633-2118. Let them know that the Grizz 901 crew sent you. And then Heaven's Healthy Kitchen. I always show love to Heaven's Healthy Kitchen. Is a grassroots business that was started right here in Memphis by Chef Smith, who is a Memphian, promotes healthy eating and wellness. Go get his cookbook. Go do support the pop-ups, and go see him over at orderhhk.com. All right, that's all we got. It's been a fun show. It's been a long show, but we only have two more, and so we want to make sure we're doing these because all of you are coming here, so we want to make sure that we're giving you the content that you deserve. But that's all we got. We'll see you Friday night. 2 more to go. Be nice. Tell your friends.